and I are grandparents of Applegate students. Margie testified yesterday in the board hearing. And this issue concerning Applegate and how it impacts us as grandparents, as parents, as families, is really about equity. This process has been very flawed, and there is an issue. One of the things that Margie said yesterday, and I'm talking so fast because I know we have a very abbreviated time. One of the things that Margie talked about last night was the dominoes is a great game, but the domino effect of PPS allowing access parents to displace pioneer parents, who displaced, Applegate families. It's a game where everyone's toppled. And the process has been so flawed about this. But one of the things that Margie mentioned last night in her remarks, and she's not only my better half, but my smarter half, but she mentioned something about gentrification. And one of the things that we really need to look at, Piedmont, many years ago, in my previous iteration, and you guys know me more recently as the Director of School and Family Partnerships for the district. But previously, back in the 90s, early 90s, I was the Housing and Community Development staff person for Gretchen Kafori. And one of the things that we did there in '93 was to help facilitate and embark on the Albina community planning process, of which Piedmont was a party to, and which is something that is a living document, at least theoretically. And we want to believe it is a living document because there are a lot of things inherent in that planning process that's relevant to what we're talking about today. Specifically, all the parties that were involved with back then, with the Albina process, in those different categories, community development, housing, economic development, education specifically, came up with action plans. And one of the action plans had to do with ensuring that Head Start is expanded in Albina, in the Northeast, not contracted, expanded. And the way this process is going, and I don't know, maybe I should ask a point of clarification, will Piedmont be taking a position on whether or not they support this change? And if in fact you are, it'd be great to know the process on that. But if you indeed are.
We would like to, and this is part of the process, is trying to get all the information, because we don't have all the information.
Well, I only got a couple more minutes here, but what I wanted to impart on you was that how this is hostile, inconsistent with a community planning process that is valid, is a living process here in the North and Northeast. Right. This was done very hastily. It was done, I think, and even with respect to, we were just talking about some of the transportation issues that's contiguous to Applegate. It's very similar about Woodlawn. And I know this as being the Director of School and Family Partnerships. In the mornings, I'm working with Woodlawn's principal because parents rushing to bring their kids in the morning, and the big old buses coming down that little narrow street, it was almost every day a traffic jam. There's every day a traffic issue because of just the way the streets are structured. So the thing is, this has not been very well thought out. It may very well be inconsistent with, as I mentioned, it's a federal program. There's very specific regulatory guidelines. One of them has to do with community assessment that needs to be done. Are these actions consistent with the current community assessment, which has to be reviewed every 2 years? Will it be consistent with a review of that? Have we really looked at the fact that there are so many homeless kids? The assessment is supposed to identify where our homeless kids are, supposed to identify social services, resources. Have we, in fact, looked at whether or not this is consistent with, the regulatory guidelines? Will this be revealed to the public? Will it be revealed to you in terms so you can have an informed decision? So those are a few of the issues. We want to be able to come back here and talk to you if necessary. I mean, I don't want this just to be one person speaking. There's this affecting so many kids. Yes, 77. There are 77 current Applegate families of kids. There's about 34 that's at least envisioned that's going to be coming back next year. But what about the kids who's going to be coming also starting next year
Yeah.
that we haven't even conceptualized in this. And that's part of the problem, is that it's so short-sighted and hastily done. Okay, and I'm not gonna, talk derisively about the district, but in terms of the decision, this process is, once again, if this is a promise that's gonna be broken historically, you guys have lived in Portland, you know about DSEG, you know about some of the other broken promises, okay? These are the most 100% free and reduced lunch. These are families that's been underserved. These are families that many of which historically have seen how PPS has broken promises to them throughout the years. And now after this community has been pushed out, this big effort to bring folks back to, for instance, Harriet Tubman, right to return, because of gentrification. This is another example, one more thing, that was promised to the community, North and Northeast. It's not just black folks, it's folks in North and Northeast, period. These are families that's, like I said, free and reduced lunch. Not just black folks or Hispanic folks, but folks here in the Northeast who historically have had to deal with, lack of trust, promises broken. So I'm gonna.
If I can just add, they're being pushed out to tell me the streets that it's on, 82nd.
We're talking about Vesto and Kelly.
Actually,
Kelly, which is further
what
out.
I've heard from the early learning folks that run this program, and those folks, that they are working